Imagine the most decisive moment in human history. A gigantic ark, built with faith and devotion, closes tightly as God himself, with his power, seals the door. Inside, Noah and his family, along with the saved creatures, await as the first drops fall and the sky darkens, foretelling the storm. That simple yet powerful act marked the end of an era of corruption. Outside, those who ignored Noah's warnings faced the relentless storm falling from the sky. God's mercy had extended for years through Noah's warnings, but humanity had rejected it. What led to this inevitable judgment? How did a perfect world become so corrupt that only a flood could purify it? To understand the impact of that moment, we must go back and explore a story of decline, redemption, and hope. Join us on this journey to discover what brought the world to this critical point and how, amidst corruption and chaos, one righteous man, Noah, held on to faith and obeyed God's call, changing the course of history forever. To understand the impact of the flood, we must explore what the world was like before this catastrophe. The Bible describes a different earth, where people lived for centuries, such as Adam, who reached 930 years, and Methuselah, with 969. This longevity was possible thanks to an ideal environment. The earth was covered by a vapor canopy that maintained a stable climate, almost like a greenhouse, protecting humanity from solar damage and ensuring a fertile environment without torrential rains, only a gentle mist that watered the land. This climate favored health, growth, and the prosperity of life, allowing people to pass down knowledge across generations, perfecting their skills and technologies. Despite the perfect environment, sin quickly grew, starting with Adam's disobedience and spreading to violent acts like Cain against Abel. The Bible says, "The wickedness of man was great on the earth," Genesis 6 verse 5, and this decay culminated in the appearance of the Nephilim, who filled the earth with chaos. This period, marked by contrasts of prosperity and moral decline, set the stage for the divine judgment that would change human history. The world before the flood was not only marked by human longevity but also by increasing moral corruption, reaching its peak with the appearance of the Nephilim, a race of giants and powerful beings. According to Genesis 6 verses 1 to 4, these beings arose from the union between the sons of God and the daughters of men. The most accepted interpretation is that the sons of God were fallen angels who disobeyed God, descending to earth to mingle with humans, introducing a new wave of violence and chaos. The Nephilim, physically imposing and destructive, became symbols of the corruption that dominated the world, further degrading the already deteriorated morality of humanity. Their actions and presence spread quickly, provoking an atmosphere of fear and conflict never before seen. To understand the story of the Nephilim, it is necessary to go back and understand the fall of Lucifer, an angel who rebelled against God out of pride and ambition to be equal to the Creator. This rebellion was not solitary, as Lucifer managed to drag a third of the angels with him, who became his followers and shared his fate of being cast out of heaven, Revelation 12 verse 4. Becoming Satan, the adversary, and with his followers as demons, Lucifer sought a way to corrupt God's creation, finding in humanity a perfect target for his plans. The sons of God, fallen angels who descended to earth, not only defied divine laws but also attempted to create a fusion between the celestial and the earthly, resulting in the Nephilim. The story of the fallen angels and their attempt to blend the divine with the human resulted in a profound distortion of God's creation, where beings originally destined to reflect heavenly glory became bearers of evil and chaos. This situation became unsustainable, and the Bible suggests that the violence and disorder the Nephilim brought reached such a magnitude that God decided to intervene decisively. Genesis 6 verse 13 reveals the gravity of the problem. Wickedness had reached such a point that only an act of total purification could restore order. Thus, God decreed a global flood, an act of judgment and purification intended to erase every trace of the corruption unleashed by the Nephilim and the fallen angels. The flood story not only marks the end of an era of violence and chaos, but also God's intention to restore order and peace to creation. Amidst an increasingly corrupt and violent humanity, Noah stood out for his integrity and unwavering faith. While the world descended into chaos, Noah remained steadfast, walking with God, who described him as a just man, perfect in his generations, Genesis 6 verse 9. In his infinite mercy, God did not wish to destroy humanity entirely. He decided to save Noah and his family as a remnant so that they could repopulate the earth after the flood. To carry out this plan, God entrusted Noah with a monumental mission: to build an ark that would serve as a refuge during the cataclysm that would wipe out the earth's corruption. God's call to Noah was clear and direct. He ordered him to build an ark of colossal dimensions, 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. It was to be made of gopher wood and coated with pitch inside and out, ensuring it was completely waterproof. This massive structure not only had to withstand the greatest storm the earth had ever experienced, but also be large enough to house Noah, his family, and a pair of every animal species. This project, in a world that had never known rains like today, required unshakable faith and obedience. Noah worked on something not only massive in physical terms but also incomprehensible by the human logic of the time. As Noah worked, those around him looked at him with mockery and disbelief. They continued with their lives, immersed in their wickedness and violence, while Noah, tirelessly, kept building the ark, hammering each plank with determination. Noah was not only building the ark but also acting as a preacher of righteousness. For all those years, he warned humanity of the impending judgment, but his warnings fell on deaf ears. Instead of repenting, people mocked him, seeing him as a madman for building a boat on dry land, far from water. The wickedness of the world had hardened their hearts so much that they completely ignored Noah's warnings. Finally, after decades of tireless work, the ark was complete. Although the Bible does not specify the exact time it took to build, some scholars believe it could have been between 50 and 120 years. Upon completion, God gave Noah one final instruction. He was to enter the ark with his family and the selected animals to be saved from the flood. The ark housed a pair of every impure species and 7 pairs of every pure species, who would be the preservers of life on earth after the disaster. And so, we arrive at the point where this story begins, the moment when God seals the doors of the ark. Do you remember? A gigantic ark, built with faith and devotion, closes tightly as God himself, with his power, seals the door. Inside, Noah and his family, along with the saved creatures. From here, the story continues with the unfolding of the flood and the repopulation of the purified world. Stay tuned and enjoy this great story. Noah's act of entering the ark was the final act of obedience. He had trusted God throughout the long years of construction, and now he had to trust that this gigantic vessel would protect them from the most destructive storm in history. When Noah, his family, and the animals entered, God himself closed the door, sealing them inside and ensuring they were completely protected from the impending devastation. This moment marked a crucial point in history. Those inside the ark, under divine protection, would be safe, while those who stayed outside would face judgment. God's mercy had extended for years through Noah's warnings, but humanity had rejected it. Now, with the closing of the door, the time for repentance had ended, and God's justice was about to be unleashed. Once Noah, his family, and the animals were safely inside the ark, the most critical phase of God's plan began: the flood. God personally closed the door of the ark, and from that moment, the waters of judgment poured upon the earth to purify it of the corruption that had consumed humanity. Genesis 7 verse 11 describes the beginning of this event, indicating a devastating magnitude. Water not only fell from the sky, but also gushed fiercely from the depths of the earth. For 40 days and 40 nights, the rain fell ceaselessly, and the waters rose rapidly, covering everything in their path. Cities, fields, and mountains were submerged beneath the waters. The flood was not just a natural disaster but an act of divine judgment. Genesis 7 verse 19. The devastation was total. The mountains, which once represented the firmness and stability of the earth, were completely submerged. All life outside the ark perished, fulfilling God's purpose to eliminate the corruption and wickedness that had taken root in humanity. Only Noah, his family, and the animals inside the ark survived. Life inside the ark was not easy. Although they were protected from the external disaster, Noah and his family faced the challenge of isolation and the uncertainty of a world being completely destroyed. For a full 150 days, the Ark floated on a vast ocean of destruction, with no land in sight. The feeling of isolation must have been overwhelming, and the constant roar of the storm made the magnitude of the judgment being carried out obvious. But amidst the storm and chaos, Noah and his family found refuge in God's promise, holding on to the hope that the waters would eventually recede, and they would be given a new chance to start over. Genesis 8 verse 1 marked the moment when the waters began to recede. God sent a wind over the earth, and the waters began to diminish slowly. The fountains of the deep were closed, the rain stopped, and calm began to settle after the storm. During this time, the earth began its restoration process, marking the end of the judgment. Several months passed before Noah could see dry land again. The ark rested on the mountains of Ararat, Genesis 8 verse 4, indicating that the waters had receded enough for the vessel to touch land. This signified that the destruction had ended, and the earth was beginning to heal. Noah patiently waited, sending out birds to check if the waters had receded enough. First, a raven, which flew back and forth until the waters dried up but found no firm land. Then, a dove, which finally returned with an olive branch, a clear sign that life was beginning to regenerate on earth. Finally, the day came when God told Noah, "Go out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons wives with you." Genesis 8 verse 16. Noah, his family, and all the animals came out, stepping for the first time onto the renewed earth, now cleansed and ready for a new beginning. After months of navigating over the waters of destruction, the moment came when God called Noah and his family to leave the ark. This new opportunity for humanity did not come without an eternal covenant, a promise from God that would mark the future of his relationship with mankind. The first thing Noah did upon leaving the ark was to build an altar and offer sacrifices to God, Genesis 8 verse 20. This act of gratitude acknowledged divine grace and mercy. Pleased with Noah's sacrifice, God made a promise for all future generations. "Never again will I curse the ground because of man, nor will I destroy every living thing." Genesis 8 verse 21. As a sign of this covenant, God placed a rainbow in the sky, a symbol of hope and restoration. "I set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth." Genesis 9 verse 13. God reaffirmed the mandate given to Adam and Eve, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth." Genesis 9 verse 1. This mandate reminded the new humanity of its purpose, to fill the earth, care for it, and live in communion with God. Through Noah and his family, humanity had the chance to start again, learning from past mistakes and living according to divine principles. When Noah and his family finally descended from the ark and stepped onto dry land, they knew they were facing a new beginning. What was once a world plagued by violence and corruption was now a blank canvas, ready to be filled once again with life and hope. God had entrusted them with a monumental task, to repopulate the earth and care for the creation that had been purified by the flood. Noah's family, his wife, his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives, were now the progenitors of the new humanity. This small group of people bore the responsibility of restoring life on earth. The first command they received from God was the same one given to Adam and Eve at the beginning of creation. "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth." Genesis 9 verse 1. Shem, Ham, and Japheth became the patriarchs of the 3 main genealogical lines of humanity. From them descended the different nations and peoples that populated the earth after the flood. Shem is considered the ancestor of the Semites, from whom the Israelites descended, a people chosen by God to carry out his plan of redemption. Ham is the father of the peoples who inhabited the region of Africa and Canaan, while Japheth is the ancestor of the nations that spread to Europe and Asia. Repopulating the earth was not an easy task. The world after the flood was a new place, transformed by God's judgment. Noah and his family started from scratch, rebuilding civilization from the resources God had restored in creation. With faith and determination, They multiplied and spread everywhere, fulfilling God's promise that humanity would once again fill the earth. As generations passed, Noah's descendants settled in diverse regions and founded new cultures and civilizations. The world began to flourish again, with cities and nations emerging from Noah's children and grandchildren. Although humanity would later face new challenges, such as the construction of the Tower of Babel, Noah and his family's legacy was forever etched in history as the beginning of the new humanity, one living under God's covenant. If this story has touched your heart, if it has inspired you to face your own storms with faith and determination, I invite you to take action today. Share this video with someone who is going through a difficult time, someone who needs to be reminded that after every storm, there is always a rainbow waiting for them. Don't let this story of hope stay only with you. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming inspiring stories that will help strengthen your faith. See you in the next video.